folks, and welcome to the Spearsy Spin. I'm your host, Mike Spears, and the first thing I want to tell you is the video program that I thought we were going to have is not the same video program that you're seeing. I thought when they said video, we would have streaming video, but apparently I misunderstood. My son says I'm a dinosaur. I'm too old for the computer. I don't believe that, but then again, what do I know? We start off with our brand new format anyway, and our format is now what they call a model. And our model is 10 minutes, and it has to be exact because it has to fit in other places, wherever else, we play this piece. So the first thing we want to talk about is the two mental health professionals from New York City who have somehow come up with the idea that Donald Trump has mental illness. Now, there's a piece written by Mr. Gersh Kunzman. He's from the New York Daily News, and this piece was written for Sunday, January 29th, 2017. And it starts out saying that President Trump exhibits classic signs of mental illness, so say the shrinks. According to the writer, Mr. Kunzman, the time has come to say there's something psychologically wrong with the President of the United States. The fuzzy outlines of President Trump's likely mental illness came into sharper focus this week in two interviews with major networks. He reveals paranoia and delusion, and he has quadrupled down on his fabrication that millions of people voted illegally. Nah, that didn't happen, which demonstrated he is disconnected from reality itself, man. Sounds like George Carlin, though I think about it. His petulant trade war with Mexico reveals that he values self-image even over national interest. His fixation with inaugural crowd size reveals a childish need for attention. Now, partisans have been warning about Trump's craziness for months, but rhetoric from political opponents is easily dismissed. It's the water of the very swamp the president says he wants to drain. But frightened by the president's hubris, narcissism, defensiveness, belief in untrue things, conspiratorial reflexes, and attacks on opponents, mental health professionals are finally speaking out. The goal is not merely to define the madness of King Donald, so says the writer of this piece, but to warn the public where it will inevitably lead. They go on. Narcissism impairs his ability to see reality, so says Dr. Julie Futrell, a clinical psychologist, who, of course, added a standard disclaimer because she's never actually treated President Trump. So you can't use logic to persuade someone like that, she says. 3 million women marching doesn't move him. It didn't move me either. So what, right? Now, typically, shrinks don't analyze public figures. As a matter of fact, that's a really good way to get your butt sued. Now, they did that back in '64 during Barry Goldwater's run for the president. Same thing. A bunch of bleeding heart liberals got together and said that, he was psychologically unfit to be president. But we're going to cover this more in a bit. I just want to get to one piece here before I start tearing these people apart. Now, as a result, shrinks are the only professionals who are not allowed to offer their expertise to journalists trying to explain complicated issues to the public. Translation: the media thinks you're stupid. Indeed, scientists can tell us about global warming, engineers can tell us if a bridge is about to give way, and soldiers can tell you if an enemy is weak or strong. But the mental health of the president, the experts are handcuffed until now. Now, according to the writer of this piece, we have elected the most paranoid president since Nixon. Oddly enough, I didn't see any paranoia in President Nixon, but then again, I'm not liberal. Well, for the past few weeks, psychologists have been speaking out, arguing that their professional integrity and patriotism can't be silenced. The latest, a top psychotherapist affiliated with the esteemed Johns Hopkins University medical school, might as well be, said that Trump is dangerously mentally ill and temperamentally incapable of being president. Okay, so we're gonna stop there. The rest of it's just gobbledygook anyway. And now we're going to right the wrong. Okay, now this is where we start turning this back. First of all, Dr. Julie Futrell, where the hell did you go to school? How do you think it's possible that you can look at someone on the television, someone you've never probably met in person, and you're going to tell me that you can analyze this person with regard to especially narcissism? That would be number one, not to do in the Code of Ethics. You do remember the Code of Ethics, I hope. I think that started in your third year of school. Of course, that's just me. I don't know, because I'm sure I didn't go to the same school that you did. And I haven't even checked to see if you did go to school. But the other issue is, how is it possible that you look at a public figure who always has a game face on? In other words, actors, they play the parts of different people. That would be like mental health folks sitting here, and we're going to judge characters predicated on what we see on the screen through the musings, if you will, of the actors. So the issue is that you cannot look at a public figure on a television screen. You cannot draw any rational conclusions with regard to idiosyncrasies, ideologies, what we like to refer to as mental algorithms. You might remember that. So you can't even do that. And then, of course, to make it worse, you always add, as most of you folks do, the standard disclaimer, because you have never actually treated Trump. The psychotherapist that's affiliated with the esteemed Johns Hopkins Medical School, John D. Gartner, he went on to diagnose Trump with malignant narcissism. But again, he's never dealt with him, so he can't really say for sure. But here's the deal, and I'll give you the same exact scolding I gave the other doctor. You cannot cast aspersions, mental aspersions, if you will, predicated by what you see on the television. We all wear masks, metaphorically speaking, and if we're going to analyze people predicated upon their mask, we probably need to start with you folks, because who in hell are you to sit there and tell us a bunch of gobbledygook when you have no clue? And here's something brand new that just rolled out into the world of psychiatry, and I don't know if the American Psychological Association's even seen it yet, but there are universities that say that they can now do away with the 40 questionnaire, kind of redundant, that most therapists use to analyze folks, to look and see if they might be narcissistic. Instead, they've narrowed it down to just one question, man. And the question is as follows. I'm not making this up. No one could make this stuff up. The question is, are you, or do you believe that you're a narcissist? I'm not lying. That they've boiled 40 questions down to that. And this is coming out of the Indiana University Lilly Family School of Philanthropy. So, what can I say? I can't. They're calling this the SIN scale, which stands for Single Item Narcissism Scale. Back in the days, we used to have a thing called the NPI, which again, it was like a 40-question questionnaire. And the NPI stands for your narcissistic personality inventory. You're trying to look for what idealisms you possess or don't possess, and blah 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 blah. I'm not going to bore you with all that. But here's the other thing. They also claim that they're using a cross-temporal meta-analysis. Meta analysis. This is nothing more than just a statistical procedure for combining a bunch of data so that you can, there's an equation you can use, but basically at the end of the day, it's to align similar things, similar likes, dislikes, theories, and all that. So it's a nice sounding, great big word.
Thanks for listening to today's show.